Yes, hello to everyone. I welcome you all to this new Daily News Digest session. Today is 22nd of January, and I have a couple of articles from both the Hindu and the Indian Express. I'm starting with the first article. This is from the Hindu. The price of succession on Kerala's demographic transition. This article basically is trying to highlight the scenario wherein Kerala's rising maternal mortality ratio is not yet a cause of concern. Let's try and understand what this is. The article basically starts by saying there can be too much of a good thing after all. The demographic transition that Kerala has heralded in the country has now delivered a sucker punch to the state with its maternal mortality ratio climbing. This may be a cause of concern, but the article is of the opinion that it is not. Kerala is one of the few states which has very low literacy rates, very high literacy rates, very uh, high gross school enrollment ratio rates. Kerala is also a state which performs really well in terms of per capita incomes. Kerala has led the shift to the face of low fertility and low mortality in India and has got further first. As the fertility rate has eventually dropped, the number of births came down. Please remember this fertility rate. The exact definition was asked by UPSC in 2024 Prelims. So this needs to be known by you all. And this has thereby scored the best maternal mortality rate of the country in Kerala. The state has led the demographic transition by achieving the total replacement level fertility rate in 1870 to 88, and the other southern states followed in the mid 2000s. A TFR of 2.1 is considered to be of replacement level and is indicating the number of children a woman must have in order for the society to maintain its size across generations. This is the exact definition which UPSC asks in 2020 for prelims. Below this level, the population size falls. In fact, this has led to moments of anxiety politically for the southern states that feel that with their sub-replacement level fertility rates, they will be at a disadvantage when it comes to the proposed delimitation exercise of Lok Sabha. There is a chance, there is a possibility that the delimitation exercise is also going to take place soon. Southern states, since they have lower population, they are likely to basically have reduced number of seats, which is a matter of concern for them. In theory, demographic transition occurs when a historical shift happens from high birth rates and high death rates to low birth and death rates, aided by advancement in education, economic development, and technology. Such a transition is said to have occurred in most parts of the world, allowing the world to stabilize from unprecedented growth forecast, as predicted by Thomas Robert Malthus, and then move on to reduce population growth and birth rates. The theory posits 4 stages. It starts by saying that first, towards moving from a stable population, second, to a stage where there is rapid population growth, thirdly, where there is leveling out of this population, the population starts stabilizing, and finally, a decline in population. Nations that have reached there, including South Korea, Japan, Italy, are struggling to revive population growth and are even incentivizing childbearing, does not seem to have the intended effect. This was asked by UPSC this year in 2024 itself, that what are the countries which have low birth rates. So options given were Italy, Japan, South Korea. These were the right options in this particular question. While it is impossible to stop a demographic transition in its tracks, government must prepare for the trail of consequences that it will bring in its wake. There will be far-reaching economic and societal consequences as the proportion of the working age population comes down and the aged population increases. This places an inordinate burden on the resources of the nations. It is therefore important to strengthen public finances and social support systems in preparation for a growing elderly population. Healthcare financing will have to be improved, and policies that support equal participation in household chores must be prioritized. So this is from the article associated with the Hindu. Let me start with a question based on this article. The question is, consider the following statements regarding demographic transition. Kerala was the first state in India to achieve replacement level fertility rate. This statement is correct. Second is a total fertility rate of 2.1 ensures population stability across generations. This is also correct. Demographic transition has 4 stages with the final stage marked by population growth. This is wrong. It is the final stage is marked by population decline. Third statement is wrong. Fourth is countries with sub-replacement fertility rates face challenges in reviving population growth despite incentives. This is the case with South Korea, Japan, and Italy. So 1, 2, and 4 should be the right answer to this particular question. Let's move on to the next article. This article basically is from the Indian Express. Under Trump, US withdraws from WHO. What is the impact and what this means for India? Donald Trump has recently withdrawn the US on the first day in his office from WHO and from the Paris Climate Agreement. And Why did Trump walk out of WHO? Let's try and find out. And how much of the agency's funding came from the US? And what happens to US experts working on the WHO schemes? Let's try and figure out as to what is going to be the future scenario. US President Donald Trump signed an executive order yesterday to withdraw from the World Health Organization on his very first day in office. The order said the reasons for withdrawing were WHO's mishandling of the COVID-19 pandemic, failure to adopt urgently needed reforms, inability to demonstrate independence from the inappropriate political influence of WHO member states, and for continued demand of unfairly onerous payments from the United States. So these are the reasons which have been given by President Trump in order to withdraw from WHO. The move does not come as a surprise, considering Trump had threatened to withdraw in his last term too, and officially notified the UN General Secretary of the decision in 2020. Nonetheless, health experts are concerned about the cut in funding and expertise that the WHO may experience in the coming years. What is WHO? It is a UN body working on global health. It works with countries to strengthen their primary healthcare. Its guidelines help prepare government policies, and it helps organize programs to tackle specific diseases. What does this executive order say? This highlights 4 things that will happen as the US exits from the Global Health Organization. First, any transfer of US funds and resources to the WHO will be paused. 2, all US government personnel or contractors working in any capacity with the WHO will be recalled back. Third, the US will identify credible and transparent US and international partners to assume necessary activities previously undertaken by the WHO. So these are the specific proposals which he has pointed out. And fourth, and more importantly, the US will cease negotiations toward the pandemic treaty that WHO is working on. This accord aims to better prepare countries to respond to pandemics, create a framework for global cooperation if a pandemic happens, and develop mechanisms for equitably sharing medical countermeasures such as drugs and vaccines. What will be the final implications of this? The withdrawal of US is likely to have a huge financial implication on the WHO, as it is the US which provides around 20% of the funds for WHO. And this is a point of contention of President Trump as well, with him saying that China, with a population of 1.4 billion, has 300% of the population of US and yet contributes nearly 90% less to WHO. That is approximately 2%. WHO's funding essentially comes in 2 ways: the mandatory assessed contributions from all its member states and the voluntary contributions raised from various countries and organizations. Over the years, the assessed contributions have remained stagnant and now cover less than 20% of the organization's budget. Then they've given the specifics associated as to which country is the important contributor in terms of assessed contributions and which is the important contributor in terms of voluntary contributions. Students may not go into that much details, but everybody is of the opinion that this does not come as a surprise, because this was something which President Trump had already indicated in his last tenure. Will India be impacted? The next question, which basically is talked about in this article. With WHO losing out on a significant proportion of funding, its work across countries, including India, is most likely to be affected. The WHO participates in and supports several health programs of the Indian government, such as its works on neglected tropical diseases, HIV, malaria, and tuberculosis, antimicrobial resistance, among others. Importantly, it plays a very significant role in the country's immunization program, with WHO teams even monitoring vaccine coverage. Apart from that, the loss of expertise from the US would also impact the WHO's role of providing guidance, because the US has a lot of experts, a lot of committees which regularly participate. And this will also sever the collaboration between the WHO and the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention, which is a very important organization to international surveillance and response to health threats. How can member states withdraw from the WHO? There is no provision for withdrawing in WHO's constitution. The US Congress, however, at the time of joining the organization, had laid down a condition that said the country could withdraw after giving a 1-year notice and meeting the financial obligations of the current year. And what is the role of India and the Global South in this regard? The vacuum created by the US is likely to be filled by China and other countries from the Global South. This also includes India. Apart from this, a considerable amount of resources of Europe has been diverted towards the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and therefore India has to play a good role here. As said by Dr. Ala Kija of the WHO, PM Modi has been setting a good example by investing in holistic health for the people. India has also positioned itself right at the top as the voice of the Global South. In the new global order, we need voices from India, South Africa, and others to step up and pull the others up along with them. So they are expecting a greater role of India after the US's exit. Let's try and solve a question based on this particular article. The question is, with reference to the withdrawal of the United States from the World Health Organization under President Donald Trump, consider the following statements. The withdrawal was justified by the US, citing the WHO's failure to adopt reforms, mishandling of the COVID pandemic, and undue political interference. Yes, this was the logic that was given by President Trump. Second is the US contributes the largest share of assessed contributions to the WHO, accounting for over 20% of the total. This is also correct. The WHO's constitution explicitly provides a mechanism for member states to withdraw from the organization. This is incorrect. It does not provide any such mechanism. And fourth option is withdrawal of the US is unlikely to have any significant impact on the WHO's financial resources. This is incorrect because it is going to have a tremendous amount of financial impact on the WHO's finances, and developing countries like India and China will have to take up a greater role in this particular organization. So this is it for today's Daily News Digest. We'll meet again. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.